Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Never an Afterthought show. My name, Afolabi Imoukhuede. I remain the author of the book, The Never an Afterthought book, and the anchor for this show, The Never an Afterthought. Firstly, I hope we all had a great Easter weekend. It was a long weekend, and I hope we rested, and I hope we also caught up with friends and family, albeit within the COVID restrictions. And above all, I hope that we also took some time to remember the reason for the season. The resurrection of Jesus from the dead is the reason for the season. In fact, I'm reminded of Paul in the Bible, who says that if Christ did not rise, of all men we are most pitiable, because our entire faith hinges on his finished work for us on the cross of Calvary. To that end, it is my prayer that the power of his resurrection may be made evident in our lives and in our times, and even in all of our nations at the moment. Trust me, every nation of the world need a touch of his resurrection power in one form or another. Maybe some need more of it than the other, but trust me, every nation requires a touch of his resurrection power. So I trust that we would have a greater year. This is now, we are officially in the beginning of the second quarter of 2021. So it's my prayer that this power of resurrection will be made evident in our lives continuously as we move from the second quarter to the third quarter and obviously to the fourth quarter, wrapping up the year 2021. Don't forget our hashtag, the Never an Afterthought, by which we join and continue these conversations across all our social media channels. Twitter at NAA_book, Facebook and Instagram at NA Afterthought. Of course, by now, you know I love to read from you, so you can always drop me a note. Podcast at neveranafterthought.com. And last but not the least, we glean your comments on the comment section of the platform wherein you're watching or listening to me. So today, it's a special one for us. It's our 20th episode. 20, it's a milestone. So I want to throw a shout out to our production team. It's not been easy, but we've continued to stay the course from episode 1 now to today, episode 20. I recall a conversation I had one of my bureaus, one of this private audience I always tell you about, that give me feedbacks privately, not through the public comments. And he was saying to me, the first time he heard me mention production team, he said, production team packaging. So he told another cousin, you are going to come with the packages. But as time went on and he continued to watch the show, he started saying to himself, this is not something that just one man can produce. So it may really look like he has a production team. Well, for those of you naysayers, blessed are those of you who believed, even when you did not see them. But for those of you who did not believe, well, go watch the end of last week's episode. They showed themselves in a glimpse at the end of the show. And so I'm sure now you believe. So really, shout out to them. To all our men and women behind the camera, behind the scene, that ensures that we do a great work as we continue to improve daily. So as a result of that, the team has indeed curated some statistics. Let's remember, our first episode was on Thursday, November 12, 2020. And since that time till now, you have played host to us, having us in your homes, having us in your space for the last 21 weeks. Now, in the past 21 weeks, we've had over 9,327 viewers, and these views have been accumulated over 722 hours. So we've had this much engagement on our channel since we began 21 weeks ago. As of today, we have about 340 and counting subscribers. So to each and every one of you, I want to say thank you. Again, I say thank you. And again, I say thank you. We recognize that there are over millions and millions of channels you could stay engaged with, but for counting us to be one of such channels, we do appreciate it, and we do this for you. And so let me also use this opportunity to appeal to a lot of our viewers who are yet to become subscribers to join our channel. You can subscribe, it's very easy. Just click the red button, even as you're seeing it on the screen right now. Once you click the red button, that's all it takes to subscribe. And then you may also want to turn on your notification, which is that bell button right after the red button, because that's what enables you not to miss any episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we're settling into the month of April. This month of April is very personal to me because it is the month wherein I celebrate my hero in the person of my dad, Joseph Imoukhuede. Incidentally, it is also, he was born in April, and he also transitioned this earth in the month of April. Born April 25 and transitioned April 27. Incidentally, it's also the border month for celebrating my dear mom as well, my sissy of life, Mrs. Olubunmi Imoukhuede, who transitioned May 1, but had really started bidding us goodbye in the last week of April. So what I will do in the later on in the month, we'll be dedicating some time out to honor their memories and their legacies. I'll tell us more about that as we progress in the month of April. Let me also use this opportunity to say a big shout out to all our April birthday celebrants. I know I have a few within the team. Okay, just before we jump into today's episode, I know you're eager. Let me say thank you to our hosts for the last two episodes on when we featured the intergenerational conversations. First, huge appreciations to Emeritus Daddy, Professor Oluwaino, who opened his entire home to us, and indeed the entire production team. He did not spare any part of his home. And also to my bureau, Professor Oluwaino, who is in his own right, Doctor, perhaps Dr. Emeritus Sheguaino. I want to say thank you for having us in your space and sharing the body of knowledge that we shared across the last two episodes. Okay, so we're in for another exciting episode this week, which we've titled Igniting the Power Within. Igniting the Power Within. So we'll take a short break now. And right after the break, we'll jump right in and I'll introduce my guests for today's show. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. If you're just joining us, welcome to another exciting episode of the Never an Afterthought Show. Today, we will be discussing the topic, Igniting the Power Within. But just before we continue, don't forget our hashtag, the Never an Afterthought, by which we join and continue these conversations across all our social media channels. Twitter, which is at NAA_book, Facebook and Instagram at NA Afterthought. You can always drop me a note at any time, podcast at neveranafterthought.com. And last but not the least, you can comment on the comment section of the platform wherein you're listening or watching me. So today, we're in for a thrill. It's going to be an exciting episode discussing the topic, Igniting the Power Within. I've got with me a sister, a wife, a mother, and indeed a professional colleague who is doing stellar work in America's Wall Street, joining me today all the way from New York. United States of America, to discuss today's topic. She is no other but Nogie Udevbulu, who is a multi-passionate woman who loves encouraging and coaching women to live their best life yet, and indeed fulfill purpose. She is currently the managing director and the global head of Index and Systematic Investment Research Group at BlackRock, which is a leading global asset management firm. Prior to BlackRock, Nogie was the global head of markets strategy at the Bank of America's Data and Innovation Group, and indeed she has served in leadership roles of several professional networks, including Women's Leadership Network and the Black Professional Network. She continues to get a lot of accolades, but in 2020, she was recognized for exemplary leadership as a woman of color, breaking glass ceilings, wherein she received the Seed of Fortune's her Wall Street Award and an honorary recognition from Boys Hope, Girls Hope, New York. I could go on and on and on and on, but I will pause there and welcome Nogie to the show. Greetings, Nogie. How are you?
Hello, Afolabi. I am well, and thank you for having me on your excellent show.
So, wow. Thank you. So if you say excellent and coming from you, let me give that accolade to the production team. So I noticed you were smiling and laughing as I was reading your profile. Why that? Why were you laughing? You couldn't recognize yourself?
It's amazing when people are reading the bio. They're like, okay, and next, and even myself, I'm like, all right, you can stop now. You can just say my name and just move on.
I know that feel, right? I know that feel. But hey, it is what it is. It is the efforts and the hard work that you've put into it, that it is what we are, what is being recognized and what is being read out. So I want to say congratulations. Congratulations to you on such a big feat in America's Wall Street. So, but I'm also aware that you didn't just wake up on America's Wall Street, right? So I want us to take a little bit of journey. We want to do a journey today, and we will land where you are now. But just walk us through the Nogie that is not captured in this profile. I was very deliberate when I said a wife, a mother, because most times a lot of people think career women have to be career women and can be nothing else. But that you're a career woman and still a wife and a mother in America, I think you deserve another round of applause. So please walk us through your journey.
Wow. Well, I heard that so often as a child. Yeah, if you're a career woman, you're not going to marry, you're not going to have kids. It's only your job. So, well, we give God glory.
Yeah.
Background about myself: I was born in New York and I was raised in Nigeria. So I was in Nigeria for, elementary school, secondary school, and I actually didn't know I was born in New York until when it was almost time to come back. I know.
Wow.
I had plans of going to Unilag and Uniben. Those were my two choices, and I was going to study banking and finance because my dad was a banker, and I remember when he was a branch manager in Ibadan, I would go to his office.
So sorry, I'm going to interject a bit. What secondary school and what bank was your dad there? Yeah.
Okay, I went to Queen's School, Ibadan.
Okay. Oh, so you're an Ibadan girl.
Actually, no, I was only in Ibadan because my dad was a bank manager. We lived in Lagos. And shortly after I got there, he was transferred again to Onitsha. So I was the only one.
Well, left in Ibadan.
Yes.
But Queen's School is a prestigious school.
Absolutely.
And there are a whole lot of women doing excellently well.
Yes.
Who are so proud to be products of Queen's School Ibadan.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So go ahead.
as they say, I'm a QSI babe. So with regards to secondary school in Ibadan, the few times my dad was there, I would go to his office, and what I noticed was the secretaries were women, and then the ogas were men in the offices. And I used to look and say, I want to be in the office. I don't want to be doing secretary work. So I've always had a desire to do banking, mainly because I saw my dad in that space. And at the age of 16, I came back to New York, started college, and I remember declaring my major. And when they asked me what I wanted to major in, and being a new immigrant, sort of, JJC coming into New York and meeting other Nigerians and Africans, they asked me what my major was. I said I wanted to study finance, and the first the first comment I got was, people who study finance, they really don't end up getting good jobs. You're better off studying accounting so that you can go work for the top accounting firms. Those are the companies that come to this college. I went to Baruch undergrad, so they used to tell
That's in
me
New York.
that's in New York. That and it's well known for accounting. Well known, well respected.
As an accounting graduate from the States, I know that very well.
Baruch is like hands down. So being a finance major, it almost looked like I was making the biggest mistake of my life, because finance majors from Baruch hardly ever make it on Wall Street. But that didn't stop me. I'm so thankful for mentors that I had along the way, that even though they were accounting majors, just opened my eyes to opportunities, fellowships, foundations, internships. And that's how I started my journey on Wall Street. I had my first internship at Deutsche Bank, a German bank. They had just acquired Bankers Trust in New York. And so I had a technology internship. Meanwhile, I could not do anything coding for the life of me. I guess I really impressed them at the interview and they took me on. But it was good to do that internship for me to recognize that technology was not my strength. But just saying that I had Deutsche Bank in my resume was an opening, because as a senior in my final year in college, I got a lot of interviews from the banks, this time from their operations division. And that's how I got a job at Lehman Brothers in 2001. That started my journey. So I was in middle office operations, supporting sales and trading at Lehman Brothers for about 3 years. I would say 6 months into it, I quickly realized what operations was, and I didn't want to do operations anymore. But I used the opportunity to meet people across the bank, learn about the different areas of banking, understand what I needed to do to make sure I am in that space, in the investment space. Took business school alums to dinner to ask them about their business school application process, and applied to business school literally 2 years after I got out of 2 years after I started working, literally. And then went on to business school in 2004, where I went to University of Virginia, the Darden School of Business, one of my best experience ever. Had no money, went on scholarship and loans, a lot of loans. And did my 2 years there and joined Merrill Lynch as a full-time sales and trading analyst doing risk arbitrage. And that's where the journey started. I was at Merrill Lynch for 15 years, and I literally just signed. Yes, I grew up there. I was an associate and got promoted over time to managing director. In between all of that, I met the love of my life, who's also a very good friend of yours. Got married. Now we have
a wife now. You don't need to tell me that. You are a wife. But go ahead, tell the audience.
Yes. Just so everyone knows, Afolabi had to give the okay before my husband would propose to me. So yeah. I had to go and meet all the dons. Afolabi is one of the dons, and so in my journey at Merrill Lynch, I met my husband. We got married, and usually I know I hear this often. Even when you're married and you're on Wall Street, you start to calculate the best time to have children so that nobody messes up with your promotion. I'm a testimony to that. Getting pregnant was very difficult. I had to go through fertility. Ended up having 2 kids back to back because of the IVF process as a director. And shortly after I came back from my second maternity leave, I was told that I was going to be put up for managing director. So, if anyone tells you that when you have kids on Wall Street, your life changes and your promotion is just a lie. It's a lie. God is awesome.
So Nogie, I mean, I'm allowing you rush through this, and I'll come back and pick a few corollaries. But this is a point I want us to pause on. We're going to pause and speak about it, but I want you to run through because the reality is, it is a reality for a lot of women, right, in the Wall Street. But we'll discuss it more. Go ahead.
So I made managing director right after I got back from my second maternity leave.
Yeah.
And in the process, I have built a business. I built a business within Bank of America in global equities that has now become so essential to investments today. It's called passive index investing. And so, for 3 years, my current employer, BlackRock, had been speaking with me and trying to get me to move over.
Trying to poach you.
Yes, and the stars aligned last year, and I just joined them actually 2 weeks ago, and it has been a great experience. So I'll leave it there. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That is a very loaded experience. That's a walking CV, a very loaded experience. And yes, I completely agree with you that this is grace in action. So so clearly we are all that we are by His grace, and I agree with you on that. But I want to backtrack a bit and pick out a few corollaries. And that's one of it is the fact that how did you decide this path? But now I can see from, from your conversation that it was actually from a tender age, so your dad being your role model, being in the bank. And then you also spoke about images of going to his office is the women that are the secretaries, the men are the orgas. And at that point, you literally had a print in your mind to reverse that role. So was this something so whilst you have said it, and maybe it was in your subconscious, did it become a conscious thought for you as you journeyed through life?
It became conscious. But yeah, it was definitely subconscious. I became very aware of the setup of society, and for me, it didn't make sense. Like, why wasn't there a woman in the office? I would like to stay in that kind of office. And my dad's office was pretty nice. So for me, I just could not imagine being the one outside the office. I wanted to be the one inside the office, talking to clients, entertaining them in the sofa area, having my own big desk. That was what I imagined. I also imagined flying around the world and solving problems, like financial problems for people. That was my imagination.
Now,
I didn't know how possible that was going to be. It was something I dreamt about.
But did you at any time have this conversation with Daddy, and what did he say to you? Oh wow, so why not?
Okay, so let me put it this way. I think when you have a parent who's been in an industry for a very long time and knows how harsh that industry can be on women,
and is protective of his daughter. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Exactly. Banking was not exactly what he wanted to hear that his own daughter, his first daughter, after having 5 sons before me, would want to do. In fact, my mom wanted me in media. My dad wanted me to read law. I really don't know why. And so the banking thing, like when I said, no, I want to do banking, it didn't, you know how you just kind of like, like, oh, she's still young. She doesn't understand. Right. And then my first job out after university, like undergrad, was at Lehman Brothers, a major investment banking firm. I was doing operations. He still didn't, again, it's like, okay, it's not too bad. His own was, when are you getting a master's and getting married? That was his own. Meanwhile, I had plans. I was like, I'm going to get an MBA. I'm going to get a CFA. I'm going to do this. My mind was the hardcore banking. And I had an older cousin, in her blessed memory, she's passed now. She was the dawn. Like she was one of the youngest bank managers to be promoted in Nigeria. So she was living the life that I was also gunning for.
Aspiring for.
I was aspiring for. And she was she worked at the IFC. She was a junior partner at Accenture. Like she did the things that I was already on track to do. And so we were super close. And
Nogie, sorry, of course, time is never a friend. There's so much you have to say. And at the same time, I want to, because just like your topic, igniting the power within, we're going to come to that. We're going to relax and come to that a bit. But you see, you on set today, I need to draw a lot of corollaries for a lot of our audience, a lot of our viewers, a lot of women, and beyond even just the women folk, which I know you will talk a bit more about from your work experience in corporate America as a Black woman, right? But the point also is the fact that I want to use that corollary for what you call minorities. Because whatever challenges you will face and that we will talk about are actually the same challenges minorities in any sphere really face. So that's why I'm asking, some of these leading questions to bring out the answers that each one can pick something to take home. Now, you've told us about your journey, and I like so. Now, there was something you said about when you got into after Dutch Bank. You spoke about internship. I think that's a good point. Just like in the intro before you came on set, we're talking about volunteerism, internship. It's very important for young people. If you are not quite sure what you want to do, pick up an internship, pick up a volunteer role. So I like that. But there's something you said when you got into your first job and you were in operations. And soon you realize after 6 months, these operations, I don't think is really for me. I have an eye goal. This investment strategy, this whole investment, this finance is really what I want. And you soon realize that it means that I may need to break to business school soon to be able to kind of reroute myself back for what I really want. Now, you said something. You said you took alums of top business schools to dinner. Who taught you that?
No one really. I figured, okay, so being coming from a home where no one went to business school, a top business school in the United States, and looking at my community, I didn't really have a lot of people that had that caliber, right? So if I wanted to ask them for their time, I figured I had to pay for it. And I really didn't have money. I became a financial engineer in moving credit card balances, right? But if I could take some to dinner, I think it would be an impression that they're like, this one wants to take me to somebody that wants to go to business school, wants to take me that has come out of business school and making multiple times money than her to dinner. But that, let me take you out to dinner. Would you like to go to dinner? That always impressed them and made them comfortable to want to sit down and share their views and their thoughts with me. Some were nice enough to just meet up with me. Some, I would hear through church connections and, jam them somewhere and just like have conversations. So why did you pick this school? What was your reason? And it usually, if you want to show someone that you are interested, you have to put money down or time, put something of value, something that will pinch you, put something of value down to say, this is an investment. This is not a play. This is not a game. And that, I think that set the tone for me.
Nogie, thank you. And I'm glad you used that word investment, because a lot of us, sometimes, and that's why I said you are now at the top and everybody will think, oh, you just got to the top. People will not remember that there is a story to the journey. And more importantly, in the story to the journey are the things that you and I can do, sometimes effortlessly. But it's just the fact that most times we discount those things as maybe not important, not the big picture, but it's just those little things. You didn't have money, you said it, but you thought, if I want to, it was, there's this favorite quote, there's this favorite, I have a lot of favorite quotes from her, Marianne Writer Delman. And one of the quotes she says is, you can't be what you cannot see. And that's exactly what it was. You needed a role model. You needed to understand. Since you don't have anyone who's gone to a top business school around you, you needed to surround yourself with those who can tell you a few tricks, a few things, even if it's just about the essays, how to write the essays, what they look out for, and things like that. And it worked, right? You said 2 years after that, you found yourself in a business school. So can you tell us which of those dinners or a combination of those dinners worked for you in being able to get into business school? What were the advice you got?
Okay, so one was, it was the essay. Like, you can't, it's like owning yourself, owning your personality, and not being sorry for who you are. Especially in a country like the United States, we're not, minorities, we're a minority and we're Black, we're low number. Business school is not exactly a place you see a lot of us. We were very few. I think we were less than 10 in my class 15 years ago, right? So it was not, don't regret being yourself. Own it, and own it with joy, right? I think a lot of people always seem to look for acceptance by someone else. No, just own yourself, because that's what they want. That confidence is 50% of a sales pitch. And if you cannot show confidence, then why would anyone be interested in seeing what you have to offer, right? So those were the little tips I got from the dinners, the meetings, the coffees, that I met them and asked them questions. And also just learning the tricks behind all the different requirements for business school, right? The standardized test is not really catered for everybody. I will tell you that I struggled with standardized testing. And yet I got into the school and I was acing all the topics. So the standardized testing was something that was really tampering with my confidence. And one of the alums that I met said, look, there are 5 points they look at, and standardized testing is one of them. Don't focus so much on it. Make sure the rest are good. They look at your transcript from undergrad, check. They look at your work background, check. They look at your essays, check. They look at your referrals, your recommendations from people, check. And he said, look, your score is the score, and statistics have shown that the score doesn't necessarily help minorities. So my score wasn't like 750 or 700. My score was actually very low. However, after taking the test a couple of times, I bit the statistic, and this was how I demonstrated my love for numbers. I bit the statistic. that said, if you take the GMAT, the chances of you getting better than 30 points is very, very low. Well, I took the GMAT again and I got 125 points more.
Improvement. Wow.
So I wrote, the essay. You have your main essays, and then you have your extra essay that would say, is there anything you like about you like us to know? I said, well, you already know everything about me, but I want to talk about this GMAT number. You see this number? Statistics show that you can't get more than 30 points. Well, I have proven that statistics is wrong by all accounts, and I don't think you should use this aptitude score to judge my caliber to come into your school. I am going to be value add, blah, blah, blah. Close the case and send it. Again, it was that little tip that I learned from the dinner saying, look, own yourself. Yep. Don't feel like, their validation of you is what is going to make you get into school. No, it is you owning yourself that will make you a value add to the business school. So yeah, that was key.
Well, thank you, because I imagine there are a lot more people who are trying to get into business school, especially top business schools, who will find this very useful. We're going to take a short break. But before then, just before the break, you started speaking about what my next question was going to be. And that is about Black women in corporate America. Or let me say women of color, to include the Asians and all the other minority. The women of color, statistics have shown that women, especially those of you of color, don't even rise to C-suite, level. So I want to understand how you navigated these intertwined barriers, the barrier of gender and that of race. Because you are now obviously at that C-suite and rising, that's another one. But just how did you even sustain yourself those 15 years where you literally grew in Merrill Lynch? So we'll take that after the break. Let's just go on a short break at this point.
We started a series of conversations that we called intergenerational conversations, just listening to different generations speak about what worked for them, how it worked for them. You can pick something.
As my dad always says, there's no shortcut to success. In his own generation of hard work, focus is one of the things that is a manifestation of hard work. But one of the characteristics of smart work in our own generation is being able to multitask.
A few things should be in any society that we are probably lost. Value.
And what remains consistent and universal across all these generations? Value system. So whether you are Gen Z or Gen X, integrity is integrity. Please join me on YouTube every Thursday at 6 p.m. West African time for another exciting and engaging episode of the Never an Afterthought show. So greetings everyone. If you're just joining us, well, you've actually missed, but I'm sure you can catch up. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Never an Afterthought show. In the last 30 plus minutes, I have been with my sister on set, Nogie Udevbulu, who is a Wall Street corporate guru, and it's been a fun ride. We're just going to continue right away because of our time, but don't forget our hashtag Never an Afterthought, and by that hashtag we can continue our conversations across our social media channels, Twitter at NAA_book, Facebook and Instagram at NA Afterthought. You can always drop me a note at any time, podcast at neveranafterthought.com, and I can see your comments already, and I'm hoping to see that I can accommodate as much as I can before we wrap up today's show. So you can always leave me comments on the comment section of the platform wherein you're listening or watching me. So just before the break, I was, engaging Nogie. It's been awesome. It's been an awesome 30 minutes so far. But I was engaging you about this Black woman in corporate America, or women of color in corporate America. And the statistics have shown, and since you're a woman of numbers, a woman who loves numbers, statistics have shown that not a lot of women who come in are able to even stay before they get to the C-suite level. You have stayed, you have gone beyond it. You are now in the boardroom, but we'll come to the boardroom later. Just how did you maintain yourself? And in your introduction, you spoke about at least you spent 15 years with Merrill Lynch. How did you maintain yourself in that period? And part of what I also have read from a lot of women of color is this thing called coping mechanism. Did you have to develop some coping mechanisms yourself? So those are two-in-one questions. Fire on.
That's a loaded question.
So just take your time and
Okay.
fire on. Yeah.
Well, when folks ask me, how have you been able to make it this far? There are a couple of things that come to mind, but I would be ignorant to tell you, I'll be ignorant not to say that the grace of God in my life has been manifesting greatly. However, to have this grace manifest, I also have to do my own path, right? So being on Wall Street is not just hard for women, it's hard for everybody, period. Those numbers will keep going down as you keep climbing up the ladder. So if we were 60 that started out in an associate class, by the time we're VPs, we're already half that number. And by the time we're directors, we're probably like 1/10 that number, and let's forget about MD. And this is just normal population. Now, it is overwhelmingly extreme for women of color because already the numbers from the beginning is small. We're not that many when we start out anyway. If the population in the United States for Black minorities is 13%, we're not up to 10% when we started. This was back then. Thankfully, those numbers have gone up. They're much better than it was before. So by the time you are...
So it means the advocacy, the affirmative action is actually working.
It's working. So by the time you're a VP, there are multiple things. So bringing in the pipeline is one thing. Keeping them in is another. So that's the inclusion issue. Majority of the folks on Wall Street come from a different caliber, a different orientation, a different language. I'll tell you, there are many things they would say that I did not understand. In fact, they made fun of my accents. You know, the way I would pronounce certain things was not the way your typical American would. But hey, I learned, oh, okay, that's how you pronounce it. Okay, great. And I just adjusted. But not everybody is able to do that. But to the work that you get assigned, and I'm not just saying this because it was just my experience, but from the interviews I've had with other women of color, ends up being a very painful, unbearable job. It's like you're getting the short end of the stick.
Why?
I don't, I wish I could explain it. I wish there was a very clear reason why. But I think it's so complex and it's so embedded in the way Blacks are viewed in this country over the last 400 years. And even when we don't know it, by just systematically, we just put certain things on a type of people. Sometimes we don't know, and we accept it as a type of people instead of pushing back, right? So knowing that, number one, I didn't have anyone else on Wall Street. The money was relatively good. It's helping my family. One of my coping mechanisms is put my head down and just keep working. However, putting head down and keep working is not always the right thing to do. Because one of the key things of success is networking. So meeting people, getting to know them so that they know your name.
First name basis. Yes,
networking is work, but you got to put in that work, right? Just getting to know people, whether they like you or not, just introduce yourself. And that was one thing I got comfortable doing very quickly because I would observe. And the people that got, even whether you're Black, whether you're white, the people that got ahead are people that everybody knows their name.
Hmm. Hmm. So
Now,
in other words, that's how you countered what is known as status distance. I mean, for someone like you who didn't have anyone, right? Maybe in Nigeria parlance, they'll say you didn't have a godfather, or you didn't have anyone to back you up. You needed to actively build your own networking,
yes.
to increase the number of people who know you on a first name basis that can then speak for you in the places that matter, right?
Yes, and I'll give you a very good example. Okay, so on the trading floor at Merrill Lynch, I had a boss. He was also very new to Merrill Lynch at that time. And within 7 months, because this man was just wicked. He was, was just wicked. Within 7 months, his character was not a fit for the organization, and he was laid off. He literally was laid off. He was fired. So there I was.
Because of what? Character, right?
Character. It was not a
Character.
fit for the organization.
Continue.
There I was, no manager, no guidance, nothing, but a hungry, ambitious young woman who just wanted to learn and be helpful. So I met this gentleman that he was also a strategist for options, like trading options, and he would come to me and we'll just engage, like, oh, hello, what's your name? I would tell him. He said, what do you do? I said, risk arbitrage. For those who don't know what risk arbitrage is you're analyzing mergers and acquisitions that have already been announced, right? So he said, there's one company we are looking at. It's called First Data. We think this company is about to get taken out. Can you run a leverage buyout analysis of the price that you think this company should be taken out at? I said, yes, no problem. So I ran the model, came up with a price, showed him what my price was. He looked at my numbers. He said, yes, I agree. Apparently, this guy's put on a big trade on this company. The very next day, there was an announcement. The takeout price was within the range I gave to
that you proposed. Yeah.
That was door opening for me. All of a sudden, I got credit, recognition, and this man took me under his wing and just giving me insights. He's like, listen, on Wall Street, it's either you sink or you swim. You are going to swim, and this is how you do it. Whenever I have any issues, I'll go and talk to him. He'll say, okay, go and talk to this person, go and talk to this person, go and talk. He gave me tips on how to navigate the trading floor, even without
So Nogie, there are two things you've said just within that statement. One is competence. If he gave you, if you had that conversation and say, go run this model for me, and you were not competent enough to run a proper model, what could have happened, right?
Yes.
And then the second is your competence created a value by which he then saw reason why he should bring you under his wings, which you will term mentorship. But it's important for our viewers and audience to understand that mentorship doesn't just happen.
No.
Mentorship is not just for you to say, I desire a mentor, this is my mentor. No. For the mentor to accept you, for you to be his mentee and he's your mentor, there must have been value created. And most times that value is coming out of competence and out of networking and all the like. So I just like to draw out this corollary so that we don't get lost. The story does not get lost on us, and especially our viewers, but they can pick these key points, right? But go ahead, yeah.
And so he would guide me, but it was the same thing when there were opportunities to add value and I could do it. Or even if I couldn't, the moment I say yes, this is where the grace of God comes. The moment I say yes, I'll figure it out. It just propels this energy to want to solve a problem. And there's no one on Wall Street that doesn't like somebody that is willing to at least try. I do it to my juniors today. If someone is hanging around me, I'll just, here's an article. Go read it. Tell me what you think. Because I want to see, are you eager or not? If it took you 3 days to come and give me an answer, you're not ready. I don't have your time. Don't disturb me. No, but it's true.
Please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You see, go ahead. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, that was how I was able to like start meeting people, networking, and also, you know, be kind. I just did a career thing for my daughter's preschool, pre-K class. I said, you know, there are 3 things you need to be a banker. You need to know your numbers, you need to know technology, and you have to be kind. Be kind. Even if people are mean to you, be kind. This is the beautiful thing about the word of God. What did Jesus say? If somebody slaps you, turn the other cheek so they can. Let them say whatever they have to say, but still work in love. Your consistency does not go unnoticed. Be kind.
Wow.
You know, so it was that combination. I'm hardworking, I'm respectful, and I have no problem showcasing my, you know, my highlights. Because that's the other thing, you know, when we play humble, and humble does not mean thinking less of yourself. Humility means thinking of yourself less. When you're thinking of yourself less, you're thinking about how to solve problems around you, right? So yes, when I'm showing up and saying, I can do this, I did this, and I did that, maybe with that combination, we can come up with something. It just allows people to know who you are, and in a way, know what you are capable of, because you don't know who's fighting for you inside the room. Again, we're not many. So it has to be the one that don't look like us fighting for you inside the room, and they do. Right? So I do my part, and the grace of God propels the rest.
Yeah. You see, Nogie, you are definitely going to come back.